Okay, good morning. My name is Ed Holmes. I'm your police chief, and what I wanted to do this morning is give you an update on the recent bomb threat we had at the Jewish Community Center. So, unfortunately, this is something we had been expecting and had actually met with the staff at the Jewish Community Center and the French American School about 2 weeks ago in preparation for a drill that we had anticipated doing this coming Thursday. Unfortunately, the actual bomb threat came in a week ago Monday. So we responded, and from that experience we did what we do in most drills is we looked at what we did afterwards and looked at the lessons learned. So there are lessons learned in every drill. There were lessons learned in this actual evacuation of the facilities, and we are going to incorporate those lessons learned into a drill we'll do here in the near future, and always look into ways to refine things and do things better. As far as the investigation itself goes, I wish I had great news for you that there was a huge break in the case. I don't have such news, at least not yet. The arrest of the man in Missouri, we don't know yet if there was a tie between him and the threats that were made. I can say this: we've assigned one of our detectives to work closely with the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office in investigating this, and we are totally committed to doing whatever we can to work to work in partnership with our partners in finding out who's responsible for this. While this thing troubles me quite a bit, the fact that we have this threat, I do have to say that I'm also really encouraged. And what I'm encouraged by is the amount of overwhelming support we had that night and the next morning from partners such as the King County Sheriff's Office. They came with their bomb sniffing dogs. I had calls from the State Patrol Chief that night. He said, hey, whatever we can do to help you, let me know. I had a call from Representative Tana Sen expressing her interest in helping us in any way. I had support from the Attorney General's office. So I guess the point in mentioning all that is just to reaffirm that we have some very strong partners in this area, and the threat of the JCC didn't just affect this community, it affects the broader community. And as evidenced by the overwhelming amount of support we had and interest in helping us, I think it speaks volumes to the level of interest and commitment people in this region have in looking at and investigating and keeping people safe when it comes to things such as these types of hate crimes. So when I think about this and take a step back, I also think about other things that really trouble me. And I think back to a couple months ago when I was at the mosque over in Redmond. That's the largest mosque on the West Coast. I was really troubled by the vandalism I had seen out front, and yet really encouraged by the warmth and the love I received along with the other chiefs when we talked to them about things they could do to keep themselves safe. And we expressed our commitment, our firm, unwavering commitment to keep them safe and doing everything we can to keep them safe. I'm also troubled when I think about the conversation in the community around immigration. And I was very troubled by the fact that there were people in this community that thought that the Mercer Island police may be enforcing immigration laws. And yet I was very encouraged when I got this beautiful expression of thanks, and this is a card I received, signed by 30-some residents here on the island, expressing their thanks when they understood and learned that we don't enforce federal immigration laws, and that I had updated our policy to express they reflect that fact. I'm also troubled when I think about the conversations across the country when we see expressions of hate, and yet very encouraged when even locally here on Mercer Island, I think about the proclamation our city council had signed a couple of months ago, reaffirming their commitment to the ideals of equity, diversity, and inclusion. And so when I think about these situations, both locally and then nationally, I don't want us to miss what I would call a really wonderful opportunity here. And it's an opportunity we have to look at these situations and find ways to leverage them for the positive. So rather than think about just the doom and gloom and the negativity here, we have opportunities. We have opportunities to look at legislation, to support ideas and things that further this commitment to diversity, to inclusion. We also have opportunities here to talk to our kids. You know, I have 2 teenage sons, and they ask me questions when they see headlines across the country. And it's a wonderful opportunity for us to share with our kids that regardless of the differences that people bring to the table, we're here to show love and respect and express dignity and show ways we can find ways to include others, and that notion of equity, and to really impress that upon our kids, because they are our next generation. They are the next leaders in our communities. And so don't miss these opportunities. When we see the negative headlines, look for ways to turn those into positives and how we can do better in the future with our kids and even amongst ourselves. So my commitment to you, the police department's commitment to you, in specific regards to this Jewish Community Center, is we will do everything we can to work with our partners to find who's responsible for this and to hold them accountable. And our unwavering commitment to this community to keep this community one of the safest communities in the region. Thank you.